I mean, these COP summits are absolutely essential. However, as you've suggested there, the rhetoric already is fantastic. You know, saying that we should become a superpower in clean energy, the fact that Rishi Sunak is now going, all the rhetoric, all the visuals at the current time are good. Well, most of them. However, you're right. The issue is the speech is good, but often, you know, there's no actions that we want to see afterwards, or very limited actions that we want to see afterwards. So coming out of this summit, yes, it'd be great to see some certain issues come out of it, like loss and damage coming out. But really, what we've got to see is actions now. You know, it's been called a watershed moment, this COP. I think the last COP was probably called a watershed moment as well. It's getting very clear to anyone that kind of studies climate change and climate studies that we are reaching a point where we could be getting to some tipping points where then all bets are off the table about what happens. So now we need some action, not just the kind of the good rhetoric, which we'll get probably from this COP.
See, I'm fascinated by the fact you started off by saying that these COP summits are absolutely essential. You finish off by acknowledging, really, that nothing ever happens. They're all watershed moments, but we may perhaps be coming to some sort of tipping point. I mean, I have to. They fill me with despair because there's all these huge meetings, lots of rhetoric, but no action. So, I mean, what makes you think this is going to be any different?
I'd love to say this is going to be different, but I can't say that because I don't know. When I say it's essential, I do mean that because it is a chance for world leaders to actually get together to discuss this, and action does come out of it. However, that action is probably not strong enough at the present time. So they are essential and we need to have them. However, the actions that come out of them need to be stronger. We have had good things that have come out of them. And without a doubt, you know, there has been some promises on the finance and some delivery on the finance. There has been some delivery on our greenhouse gas cutting. So the action has happened. It's often kind of not the kind of the sexy action that we want to see, perhaps the kind of the big kind of big kind of actions. But there has been movement, without a doubt, since they've started. You know, and let's face it, it was only at the last COP that we weren't discussing in COP where the climate change was actually happening. I mean, that's quite startling, I think, for a lot of people that kind of are into the climate change kind of research. But that was quite a big moment in itself, that all world leaders have now agreed that climate change is happening and that humans are involved in the changing of the climate. So that was a big action in itself. But again, probably not the kind of the big kind of take-home message which people wanted. Other messages that came out last time was that we need to start using nature, so natural habitats, to help us mitigate and adapt to climate change. That was a big action too. But again, probably not the kind of the thing that people wanted to hear. They wanted to hear that we were all going to slash our emissions by 50% within 2 days or something like that. That didn't come out of it. But actually, those incremental steps are happening. But as I would suggest, those incremental steps now need to be sped up quite a lot.
What's interesting as well is that all of the countries that are going, and of course that includes President Biden, doesn't it? He has acknowledged and he is going. But all of these countries, not just Britain, are worried about the cost of living crisis and the energy security crisis and all of those things. And yet they're still going. So they're tackling the same problems that our own Prime Minister has got on his in tray. He's changed his mind about going. Why do you think that was?
Yeah. So I think when I said right at the start, the visuals and the rhetoric always matter for this. And I think at the last COP, Boris Johnson administration, their visuals, no matter what you may thought of Boris Johnson and the government, etc., their visuals were very strong then for trying to do something about climate change, trying to do something to protect the environment. And then we had Liz Truss, whose rhetoric and visuals were very not supportive of the environment and climate change. And now we've got Rishi Sunak, who seems to be, in my mind, at the present time, sort of a little bit in between, stepping between the lines. You know, he's flip-flop, he's not going, then he is going. I think it's right that he goes because climate change is absolutely essential, and it will, as government's own reports show, you know, the Dasgupta report that came out last year shows that the environment and the economy are intrinsically linked together. If we trash the environment, if we trash the climate, our economy will suffer. So it's absolutely right that Rishi Sunak goes to COP, and other world leaders do too. And some of them are obviously not going, and their absence is going to be seen, and it's not right.